Well, hello there, and welcome to another Minecraft tutorial. This is going to be a short tutorial, and I do want to mention at the beginning of this video that there may be a really big announcement coming up pretty soon. It all depends on if I can get the help that I need to finish up a project I'm working on, and if so, I will announce the project and release it soon. But that is not what this video is about. This video is a bit of command block magic to show you how to replace jukebox noises, jukebox music, with any other sound in the game. Now obviously you could use a resource pack for this, and that's perfectly fine. And this would actually let you replace jukebox sounds with your custom music that you've put in with a resource pack. But obviously if you're already using a resource pack, you don't need to do that. You just replace the default sounds and you're good. But if your map is not really using a resource pack and you just want to replace the sounds, then it's silly to make people use a resource pack if you don't need it. And so I'm going to show you how to do it without resource packs. Now it's not perfect, I'll admit that, but it's nice and quick and dirty and easy, and again, doesn't require resource packs, so you don't have to make them download that if you want someone to play your map. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So here we have a few different music discs. We have 13, Cat, Mall, Stall, and Strad is the last one. So here we have a jukebox, and I'm going to destroy it and show you that this is a perfectly fine, just a normal jukebox. This block obviously could be sandstone. That's just a marker so I know where to place it. And yeah, so if we put in 13, it sounds like 13. If we put in, what was the second one called? If we put in cat, it sounds like cat. But now if we put in mall, so those of you who know about Minecraft know that was not the sound that you get from Mall. That was the sound of the Ender Dragon dying, which I've replaced the Mall record with that sound. And now it works like a regular record. If I were to take it out in the middle, it would stop, so there you go. So it works like a regular record. All I've done is replace one sound with another, and I've done this without resource packs, which is why it's being replaced with a sound that's already in the game. And I'm going to show you how I did. It's very simple. This will only work in 1.9.3, I believe, and later when the stop sound command was introduced. But it's just these commands. Or wait, one more. No, just these. Okay. So basically what we have here is a repeating command block. And this checks at the position of our jukebox, which is 2 blocks above the repeating command block. It looks for a jukebox with any data value, because I think the data value changes when you actually put a record in. So you could actually set that to 1 if you want, just not 0. But I just left it at -1 because it's really not important and we want to catch jukeboxes in whatever state they're in. But we're looking for ones that have a specific record item. So the record item tag tells you what item is actually in that jukebox. And I'm looking for a record mall. So that is the record with, the mall sound. So this is just checking that jukebox to see when somebody inserts the mall record into it. That's all it's doing. And then we're using a comparator here. Now you do need a comparator. You can't just put that directly into a conditional chain command block, because unfortunately what happens is the record will actually take a second to start playing. So if you run that into a command block that says to stop playing the sound, it's not actually going to catch it, because it's going to happen more than 1 tick later. So what you do here is you use a comparator here, which takes 2 ticks to actually get that signal through, which is enough time for the sound to start playing so that you can immediately stop it. So what this says is stop sound at all record. So this will stop all the record sounds playing. Now, if you were doing this in a multiplayer map, instead of at all players, you could use like at p radius equals 3 or whatever, or 5, or, you know, just everyone in the area. But in a single player map, at all works just fine. And this just stops all the record music, or any sound that's marked as coming from a record in the area. So that record will stop 1 redstone tick or 2 game ticks later, which is enough time for it to start. And yeah, so like I said, it's not perfect. Sometimes it will actually start playing 1 tick later, so you'll get 1 tick of music before it gets cut off, which is not perfect, but most of the time you don't have to worry about that. And so that sound gets stopped, and then as soon as that sound is stopped, this chain block triggers, which just plays the new sound, your replacement, which in this case is the Ender Dragon Death, but again, it can be anything you want, and it plays it as though it's coming from a record. And the reason you want to do that is that sometimes people have different settings in their, in their sound settings. They have different things turned off. So you want it to be coming from a record source, because if they're playing a record, then they'll assume, then you can assume that their record sounds are turned on, and if the record sounds are turned off, then they wouldn't hear it anyway, so it all matches up. If you have this coming from, like, let's say you replace it with a music, with a music track, and you have this coming from music, like it would if it matched the track, then they're not going to hear it if their jukebox is turned off, and they would expect to hear it because they're playing music from a jukebox, right? Hope that made sense. So basically, make sure this is coming from record just so that it makes sense to the user and it matches up with their sound settings. And then you just play at all players. Again, if this is a multiplayer map, you can use players within radius 5 or 10 or whatever you want. But I just did at all. Or actually it would be at all in radius 5 or 10. So yeah, I messed that up before, but you know what I mean. You can change that to whatever you want, but for single player maps, at all should be fine. So it detects that you've played the certain record, it stops the record 1 tick later, and then it plays the new sound for you. Now, how did I get it to work like a record, where when you take it out, it stops the sound? Well, when it's in there, this comparator will be on, and this block will be powered. So we put a torch here, so that when you have the record that you want in this jukebox, it will actually turn off that torch. Now, as soon as you take the record out, 1 tick later, this will turn off, which will turn this block unpowered again, which will turn this torch back on, and when that torch turns on, it triggers this, which just stops all record sounds. So remember, we have this coming from a record source, so this will be playing, and then once you remove that sound, once you remove that record, it will turn this torch on again, which will stop that sound, just as if it was coming from the record itself. So yeah, that's all fine and dandy. Now, I don't remember if you can, so you can specify specific sounds here. So you might want to do, in this stop sound, something like Entity Dragon Death, I think it was called. Entity Dragon Death, yes. Entity Ender Dragon Death. So Entity Ender Dragon Death. So that way it'll only stop this one, so if somebody's playing 2 records at once, it won't stop all of them. It'll just stop the one. You could do that. And in fact, here you could do music record, it's not record? Record dot mall. So you could actually just stop just the one that you've checked for here, if you want to be a little more precise. And that should work just as well. So if we test this out, Ender Dragon Death, and it stops. So yeah, you can be a little more precise if you want. I don't know how many jukeboxes and discs you're going to give your player in your map, but yeah, you can do that. So yeah, this tiny little contraption here uses only 4 command blocks, a comparator, and a torch, and it will replace a jukebox with whatever sounds you want. And again, this could be this could be replaced with a resource pack sound, but if you're going to do that and use a resource pack anyway, then you might as well just, replace the default sounds from the records, because you can. But you might want to use those sounds elsewhere. I don't know what your reasoning is, but just resource pack free command block contraption to replace your jukebox music. And of course, this doesn't have to be mall. It can be anything you want. I chose mall because, like I said, sometimes there's like a 1-tick delay where it plays for 1 tick and stops. And mall has a very low intro. So for that 1 tick, you don't really hear it much. But yeah, use whatever you want. So I hope this is useful to someone someday. And again, look out for a potential announcement. I'm saying potential because if I don't find someone to help me finish the project, then it won't be released. But if all goes well, you'll hear an announcement soon. I can't say when, but soon. So until next time, keep playing music, keep replacing jukeboxes, and keep command block magicking.